And welcome to another Old World update. For those of you who haven't yet seen, there is more news on Warhammer The Old World up on the Warhammer community site. Today, as promised, we've got a glimpse of the rules for shooting. Not just that, but we've also got a few interesting little tidbits about how the wider game will work. So join me, we're going to dive into it right now and just hit up the highlights that have been revealed today. Okay, so first things first, let's cut the BS, or not as the case may be. Yes, ballistic skill. It's not going to be like Age of Sigmar or 40k is now. There is no de facto, this is your what you need to roll to hit stat. Instead, we do still have the traditional ballistic skill. So for example, ballistic skill 2, like my orcs, will still be needing a 5 up to hit. There are still also going to be the various modifiers, like moving or being at long range, that will negative your shooting attacks or positive them if you're shooting at large targets. So in many respects, it is the traditional ballistic skill shooting rules that we have had for Warhammer since days gone by. But not just that. An interesting new addition that they've added for this edition is if your ballistic skill is over, say, a ballistic skill of 6, whereas before that would have simply meant that you auto-hit, for example, in 5th edition, in this instead, you will always fail on a roll of a 1. Natural roll of a 1 still always fails. But if your ballistic skill is high enough that, for example, you would need a 1 up to hit or a -1 to hit or whatever, you get re-rolls. So, for example, when I'm imagining a Wood Elf Lord with like ballistic skill 7 or something, they need, say normally it would be like a 0 to hit. Instead, they will hit on a 2 up, but with a re-roll for any shots that missed of a 5 or a 6. That's really cool. So what it reflects then is that a natural roll of a 1 will still always fail. It is still possible to miss, for the wind to snatch your arrow away, or, you know, a tree limb to happen to blow in the way at the wrong moment. But having a higher ballistic skill will be reflected within the rules so that it's dynamically shown, I suppose. It's quite cool. In the same way, I suppose, that having low ballistic skills and negatives that would take you to a 7 up to hit or 8 up to hit are represented by needing a natural 6 and a 4 up on a second dice roll, or a 5 up on a second dice roll. We have the alternative end of the scale now. I really like that. What else have they revealed? Oh, war machines! So, guess range weapons are still a thing. Yes, stone throwers, giant screaming skull catapults, mortars, all of those, cannons, are still going to be using the guess range rules. So I guess that'll be reflected in the kind of, you have to be careful what you pre-measure when you're pre-measuring in the shooting phase, in the movement phase, that you don't give too much away to your opponent when it comes to the guess range in the shooting phase. What else? Ooh, universal special rules. So, talking about things like the Screaming Skull Catapult, we saw a profile for it, which I'll just throw up here. As you can see, it's got a variety of special rules. So Bombard is the special rule that they're using for essentially what we used to call guess range. But also you can see it's got special rules for things like what happens if you're directly under the template, or this fact that it's magical attacks. These are all fairly common special rules that were present in 8th edition. So, but they started kind of back in 6th edition. Things like Killing Blow and so forth were still introduced in 6th edition and carried on through 7th and 8th. So in many respects, we can get a glimpse already on what those are likely to do by looking back at the earlier editions and seeing that things like Killing Blow means that a roll of a 6 to wound will just instant kill that model. No need to roll for armor save. Bang, you're dead, my friend. Which, if you had a giant stone drop out of the sky and land on your head, you can kind of understand that. But also, and this is something that I think is quite cool, it mentions some other universal special rules that are going to be present in this, including breath weapons. I really hope this means what I think it means. Teardrop-shaped templates again. Probably not as big as the teardrop-shaped template that they had in 5th edition. If I throw up a quick comparison of those for you here. As you can see, the flame template that they created for 5th edition dragons, and things like my lovely flame cannon here, is considerably bigger than the standardised flamer template that was introduced in 3rd edition 40k and basically remained the flamer template all the way through later editions. But yes, I really hope that this means we're going to be getting a return of flamer templates, because as fun as the roll d6 extra hits worth of flamers might be, there's nothing to compare with going, "Oh, you're all burned." What else? Oh yeah, so much again, like we've got ballistic skill with a ballistic skill chart that then corresponds to what you need to roll to hit, we have confirmation that we have the traditional strength versus toughness wound chart. and we have a glimpse of that here, which shows what you can expect in that regard. But not only that, a tiny little teaser that was slipped in under the section on magic missiles is how armor saves will work. The rules release explains that, yeah, you know, light armor gives you a 6-up save, heavy armor gives you a 5-up save, bonuses for shields, mounted and barded, exactly as it did in previous editions. What is revealed, though, sneakily, in the magic missile section of the rules release is armor penetration modifiers. So we knew that this was going to be a thing. Once we had confirmation that armor saves were going to work the same way, it only stands to reason that you'll get negatives to your armor save exactly as you have done in pretty much every previous edition of Warhammer Fantasy. In every previous edition of Warhammer Fantasy, modifiers start at strength 4. So strength 4, -1 to your opponent's save. Strength 5, -2 to your opponent's save. And up and up and up we go. One of the magic missiles that has been previewed in the rules release today is the Fireball magic missile. Standard battle magic spell that's been around for donkey's years. It's a 2d6 strength 4 magic missile. Armor penetration, dash. Now this can mean one of only two things. Either this is a typo, and I'm really sorry everyone if this is a typo and I'm getting overexcited about something that doesn't count. But alternatively, we do not have the traditional armor penetration modifier based upon strength. Instead, armor penetration will be based upon what weapon you're wielding or what type of missile you're being hit by. Aha! So, potentially, what this means is that there are benefits beyond simply being able to fight in 2 ranks or getting a bonus to your strength for wielding a particular weapon or a type of missile weapon that is not dependent upon the strength of the wielder. Or alternatively, I suppose, it's just that strength modifiers kick in at strength 5, because we haven't had anything yet that demonstrates the armor penetration from strength 5. There is a hint of this where we see the stats for the Screaming Skull Catapult, so I'll just throw that back up again. Here you can see that it's a strength 4 3-inch blast if you're under the outer edge, or strength 8 if you're under the hole. The armor penetration modifiers, though, are -1 if you're strength 4, -3 if you're strength 8. Well, hang on a minute. -1, -2, -3 would take us to strength 6. So again, the modifiers, it seems to be indicative, are not tied directly to the strength of the attack, but rather assigned based upon the effectiveness of the weapon. What does this mean for the game at whole? Well, what I think it means is it's going to make units more survivable. If your armor save is not just instantly negated by the fact that you're facing a unit of Black Orcs who are strength 4 wielding, you know, choppers, if instead your armor save is negated because you're facing a unit of Black Orcs who are strength 4 and instead they've got choppers that have some kind of extra choppy minus to your armor save, that is a huge difference to how you plan and strategize your game. And I think that's really cool. Okay, so final thoughts from the shooting phase. We also got a quick note in there. In 8th edition, you could shoot in 2 ranks. Every previous edition, only the front rank could shoot unless you were on a hill or you were high elves, because high elves are extra special. Ask Mike. But in this, it would seem to be clear that the limitation is, once again, only the front rank can shoot unless they're on a hill, or they have a special rule called the volley fire special rule, which was present during 8th and basically represents forming up and doing the kind of the lob shot style Agincourt pew pew approach to things. It's a nice confirmation that we're going back to the earlier editions of Fantasy, the 4th, 5th, 6th editions of Fantasy, where units are not as have to make that choice, I suppose, between forming up wide and getting lots of shots off, or forming up into a tighter formation and being more durable when they're charged in close combat. Hills, again, I'm hoping this means that they make reference to being on a hill. Games Workshop don't currently sell a hill. I really hope this means that we get a re-release of The Hill, because these currently go for stupid money on eBay. And it would be nice if they were more affordable. Other companies' hills are available. So, yeah, I'm dead excited by what we've seen from the shooting phase. Again, magic missiles, we've seen a little bit of there, just it's a shooting attack, but it's done in the shooting phase. Like we've seen in the movement phase, magic spells being scattered across every phase. Next week, close combat, so hopefully then we'll get confirmation that much like we've got the ballistic skill back, the weapon skill chart will be back, and maybe then we'll get a little bit more information about armor save modifiers, and we'll see whether or not I'm proved right. Thanks very much for watching. Come back on Friday for my usually scheduled video. This week should be another of my What If Horus Heresy video series. But in the meantime, I will catch you next time. Bye for now.